If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast. Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You guys are all amazing for listening to us week in, week out. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
absolutely amazing.
It's just a great time every week that we get to sit down and hang out with you guys. Whether you're walking down aisles, picking things in a warehouse on night shift, or cruising around out on the road, working a driving job, or just sitting in a cubicle and running Wild and Weird Radio either on YouTube or listening to us in your cubicles, so that way everybody in the office can hear. We thank you. You guys are fantastic. All of our supporters that continue to support the show week in, week out, who keep Wild and Weird Radio free. You guys are all amazing, and this list just keeps growing and growing and growing. You guys are fantastic.
Absolutely. And we'll go over that list really quick when it rolls around here. And then we'll go over it.
We got Sarah Ramsey, Julie Bug. We've got Chris Coots. We've got Adam Good. We've got Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. Travis the Redneck down there at Deep End Antique Store. There's also got Scott Holbrook. We've got our good buddy. Oh gosh, our good buddy, our good buddy, the Ike Fob Daddy Extreme. Can't say good buddy enough when you're talking about Ike. Travis, or now I'm reading the scroller. Guitar Chains Craig, Jeffrey Still, Russ Bailey, Ada Cox, Nancy White, Bigfoot Littlefoot, Tommy Swigger, Terry Summerfield, and Sarah Ramsey. Last but not least, we've already covered Julie Bug. She was one of the first ones because I started going backwards. And you guys are all amazing. We can't do this show without you guys. You're keeping it free for eons and eons to come.
And it is fantastic. Thank you guys for joining us over on the lives every Thursday. They are becoming quite the little hit over there, and it just blows me away that you guys actually tune in and enjoy that. I mean, you know. Yeah,
it's a highlight of our week, guys. If you haven't been to the lives yet, it's every Thursday at 8 p.m. And it really makes it for everybody. It is a community-driven show. You guys are the ones that have the reins of that show, and it is not like this current show. It's not planned out a little bit and structured. It's loosey-goosey. We get on the train and ride with you guys and take it wherever you want.
I mean, that train goes off the tracks a few times.
You know, just a few.
It's always a lot of fun. But speaking of which, fun and so forth and so on, we are joined tonight by a very good friend of ours. I consider him a mentor at this point, but also, more importantly, he is now an official guest host of Wild and Weird Radio.
Yay!
Reverend Michael
J.S.
Carter.
Hey, gang.
How you doing,
Good to be here on a chilly.
Yes.
That's right.
Sunday evening. Been a long day, but I was looking forward to this. I always look forward to this.
Well, we appreciate it, man. We always look forward to having you on the show, and I know that like this one, we book you well in advance. So we sit here and we look forward to it, and we're like counting down the days. Like, oh, we got the Red coming on here soon. It's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah, and we got next Tuesday too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tuesday as well. So we, like I said, he's pretty much a part of the show at this point, whether he wants to be or not. It's just how it is.
I enjoy it. Thank you. But you always got to be leery of any club that would have you as a member.
So true. Well,
hey, at least we're not wearing matching tracksuits yet.
Yes, exactly.
Oh man, You had to go. You had to go there.
Y'all pretty hard to get.
It's still early. It's still
Yeah.
early in the evening.
Still early.
It's still early. It's still early in the evening, guys. Still
So
So
early.
how have you been? How have you been? Is it it's
I've been
a few
good, brother.
months
You
since we
know,
had you?
it's a crazy time of year, but I love this time of year. So I'm getting ready for the Christmas service, and um, you know, we got some elderly folks, some people in and out of the hospital, always this time of year. But it's something special to me. From Thanksgiving to January 1st, you know, I think people are a little friendlier. I like to see the lights, and you know, it's a different energy. So I'm
Mhm.
with it. I've just been tired, but I got 3 more services, and then I get a week off. I'm off from December 26th to January 1,
Oh my
and I'm
goodness.
going to do absolutely nothing.
There
You
you
know, I
go.
have to go with my wife down to. We're going to be down in Thomasville, Georgia, to visit them in January. But other than that, I'm just going to rest, man.
Right
I
on.
really, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well deserved.
Oh, for all of us.
Oh yeah. We're
Yeah,
enjoying our hiatus at this point. Let's just say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm
going to be I will step out on this prediction. You guys are going to be even busier in 2024 than you are now. So you
oh
better, you
oh
know,
boy.
take a nap
Oh boy.
when you can, because you'll be busy. You'll be
Oh boy.
busy.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Because it's going to be so much going on
There is.
that in order for
Sure
you
is.
to you know, to could do this, because this is like a ministry.
Yeah.
What you guys do is a ministry.
It's a good
I mean,
point,
you may
really.
not look at it that way, but it is, because
Yeah,
you're informing the people. Yeah, this is a
and
ministry.
oddly enough, you know, I even told Ron that how many years ago?
Yeah.
Like whenever I left the what basically when I left active ministry and we
Hmm.
weren't affiliated with any individual church at that point.
Yeah,
It was one of those things when we were at one of those events, you know, we were talking to people, we were helping, and I was like, Ron, this has kind of become more like
it's a
my
ministry,
church
man.
now
It's an
Yeah,
outreach.
than it
yeah,
has
Yeah, it's an
yeah.
outreach.
the other way.
Yeah.
And
And so you got to take care of yourselves, and you
yeah,
got to rest, and you got to get the information right, and all. Yeah, so that's
that's
how
the
I look
biggest
at it.
thing is
Right.
getting the information right.
That's the
Well,
key,
yeah,
brothers, right there. Get the
yeah,
information right.
yeah, yeah. In a world that's giving you disinformation,
Oh
so
boy.
you always got to, you know, it's always trying. How do I navigate? How do I negotiate this? But to me, this is a ministry.
Yeah,
and
it,
and
it
and
very
and
much
you got
is.
your congregation, and you're giving. It's a give and take. We're growing spiritually. We're sharing information. How do we survive? How do we stay positive? I mean, that's what it
I think you're
is.
right about
You're the
that.
high priest.
I mean,
Giving counsel, helping people through their
Hmm. Yeah,
recovery process from
yeah,
their experiences.
labels, right,
yeah,
gentlemen? Labels.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's true. It is
It
true.
is true, man, and I
And
think it's going to be more of this as we go on in the country. Um, you know, as government may get a little,
squirrely.
I don't know how to put it. You know, you may not be able to depend on them for a lot of stuff, and some stuff you shouldn't have to depend on them for. But this is how you build community,
Yeah.
and so we're going to have to go back to that, where we kind of look out for each other, and
Yeah.
it's communities,
I couldn't
and
agree more.
the radio does that. Podcasts do that.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more of that, because people can trust. You know, I know I'm going to get. I don't have to agree with everything these brothers say, but I know I'm going to get some truth. And
Well, to
because
kind of
I
go
like that.
speak to
Yeah,
what you just said,
like that.
honest to God, if
that's
you
the way
are
to go.
following a podcast, if you're following a minister, if you're following
Yeah.
any kind of individual, an influencer of any sort, and you
Hmm.
follow every word they say and you agree with every single thing they're saying, there's a good chance that you are in a cult. There's a really good
Almost.
chance.
Yeah. Almost indubitably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you should never agree with someone 100%.
no,
That's
you
fact.
shouldn't,
Yeah.
and it's healthy. Like
Nope.
we don't.
Mhm.
The four of us might not agree on every single thing,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
healthy. It creates conversation. It
Well,
moves
yeah,
things
and you
forward.
got to cherish your doubts. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't have faith without doubt. Who was it? Who's the woman? The writer. She says that doubt is the ants in the pants of faith. We all have doubts,
Yeah.
and it's okay to have those doubts. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
And so, whereas a lot of people shut that down, well, you shouldn't doubt or you're no, I got some doubts. Maybe I want to work some stuff out. That's healthy.
Yep.
That it's certitude is it keeps you from growing. When you're so sure of your position that you won't let any other information in, you
There you
can't grow. And certitude will stop you dead in your tracks.
Yeah.
You know,
There you go,
could
right there.
we could all be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100%
You're
right.
exactly right.
Yeah, I
Wow.
learned that the hard way. Yeah, you got to be
So-
able to let other voices in, other ideas in. You don't have to agree with them. You don't even have to take them in. But people talk about diversity, and they think diversity is just race or gender. Race is part of it, but it's not. Diversity is also plurality of thought.
Yeah.
That I can have different ideas in the marketplace. That's diversity too.
And you can still
That-
have a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can still
Yes.
have this discourse with
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
that you
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to believe
But
every
if
single
you
thing
shut
they
that
say.
down, it's done.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the vision.
Your ministry, your society, your civilization will crumble.
100%. Well, I couldn't agree
So-
more with that.
So
Joseph,
speaking of things being wrong, Reverend, what do you think about what the government
Reverend God
has
is
done?
wrong.
what do you think about what the government has done recently with
The
the whole
government.
UFO topic?
The G word.
the
The G word. I'm gonna be fair. I'm going because as I get older, I try to be. I think they're up to their old tricks about how do I control this narrative, and we have the answers, and we're scientific, and these brothers don't know anything, and these sisters don't know anything. I think that is still there, and it will always be because of the hierarchy. But as we were chatting, guys, before we came on the air, that there is a disclosure. It's just this slow drip.
Yeah.
Disclosure. We talked about Brother Paul Hellyer. We talked about Hayam Mashad. We mentioned Brother Elizondo. I mean, these folks outside of Hellyer and Ashad, these other folks, they were part of the non-transparency, and now all of a sudden they're out talking about this. Of course, again, Hellyer, he wasn't censored. They just let him say whatever he wanted. And he said of the races that we were in contact with, the exchange of technology, so it is disclosure. I think that we want disclosure. I'm talking about in general, that whoever's going to be Caesar next is going to come out on the lawn and say, guess what, folks, we've never been alone. I don't think that it's going to happen. But these leaks, these timely leaks, with Grush, God bless him, with Elizondo, all of a sudden he wants to come clean. With these government officials, that is disclosure. I had some. Let me just do this very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Take your time.
Okay. In 2008, Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, on a hot mic, on a live mic, this brother said that each prime minister of Russia is given a dossier detailing the spacefaring civilizations in which we are already in contact with. He said this on a hot mic. Putin didn't go missing. Putin did no remarks. He didn't distance himself from that. He just left that out there. Then there's the case of Gary McKinnon on his own. He managed to hack into NASA's computers. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember him? He hacked into their computers, came across images revealing text that there was communication between the United States government and extraterrestrials. The U.S. wanted him extradited, and get in 2002, and guess what? And they were going to lock him up. Great Britain said, not only are you not going to do it, they made an amendment to change the law between Britain and the United States regarding extraditions to protect him.
Wow.
Now, nobody mentioned what he found. Okay.
That's impressive.
Then we all, we got Christopher Mellon, he's come out. And believe me, this stuff he was talking about back in 2017 about the Nimitz and all that, he couldn't have said that without having some type of clearance. We talked about
he was given the go-ahead to say
we talked about Brother Elizondo. Here, the former head of French intelligence, Alain Juillet, said publicly that he was there of the long when the unit that Elizondo worked for to examine the crashes, he was there. Eric Davis, American physicist, says, I examined materials from crashed disk for the Pentagon. And then, of course, Brother Grush came forward. And again, Brigadier General Hayam Ashad, 28 years, head of Israel's chief of space security. His job to know, he steps forward. He says that on the basis of his information and understanding, we've been in contact with these beings for more than 70 years. We've been involved with technology sharing and collaboration and research projects here and on the surface of Mars. That's what he said. He also came out and said that there was a galactic federation.
Yeah.
And he said that that there are extraterrestrials who don't want disclosure. And along with, obviously they're human beings who don't want it. So I'm just saying, grab your popcorn, and then we won't even get into the Vatican. So to me, brothers, this is disclosure. This is disclosure.
It really is.
It is, buddy.
It is. But it's just not the way
it's
that
do-it-yourself disclosure, Michael.
Well, but the thing is this: we were talking. We don't know what treaties have been signed.
Yep. Right.
We know that there's a table because Ashad said there's a federation. Yeah. So there are probably star people obviously there, but there's also probably some human beings, some heads of government there. And so there's some beings who say, we don't want, these people aren't ready for disclosure, but there's also got to be some beings at the table who are saying, well, hold on, let's see how they evolve. Right. I mean, I'm just speculating, but if this man is saying that, why would he lie?
Maybe they have maybe they have an agreement about what has to take place before.
Right. And so we're thinking that decisions are being made at this level, but now we're thinking if we throw all that other stuff in, they're being made at this level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe the United States, and I'm not trying to be apologetic for it because there are some nations that have always been more open. But at this level, at this stage of the game, maybe this is the best we can do right now.
Oh, well, we speculated before that this has been taken out of our hands. I think that it's been taken out of our hands a few years ago, and we're on a clock, and it's not our clock anymore.
Right.
That's my take on it. And it kind of goes with what you just said. It's not our clock. It's not our watch. Someone else is calling the shots.
Yeah.
We're just
But I think that the reason that there is a clock is that, listen, because of this, because of cell phones, because one day someone may take a picture of something.
Yes.
And a craft, and maybe they may take a picture and an occupant may walk out of it. Okay. And it can't be explained away. Our government or the governments of the world can always say, well, we were trying to tell you this.
Yeah.
We so they cover their butt too.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah. We were trying to give it to you little by little. You can't say they haven't.
Right.
It's so true, man.
Can't say they haven't.
I mean, that's 100% true.
Yeah, because they're thinking ahead. Brother, when we are asleep at night, these people are thinking 20, 30 years down the line.
Yep.
What are we going to do?
Yep. It's
What
chess
are we
game.
going to do? This is it. This is the way the game is played. And so, you know, it's not as transparent as we would like, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
I agree, and we're talking about it. We're talking about it openly, and
Yeah.
I mean, for this was I do growing up. We were laughed at for saying stuff that we've said at this point.
Oh, you could lose your job.
We were made fun of. You would lose your job. You just didn't talk about that stuff.
But see
And,
how it's flipped.
Yeah, it's
You
like-
know, now it's mainstream conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
For many, even though there are many people who don't know that this is going on. You know, and part of it is because their head is in the sand. And a lot of it is, you know, when you're trying to pay your bills, when you're trying to eat, when you're trying to get your kids educated, you don't have time for this. And the game is set up for you not to have time for it. Because an educated populace is too hard to control.
It is.
So
yeah.
we want you in survival mode. We want you to know more about the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles than you do about who's running your government. We want that, and it has worked.
yeah.
It has
And
worked.
you look at the condition that we're in currently. We're seeing prices inflated, and we're seeing all these things. And so the majority of our country is in survival mode,
Oh boy,
and they're conveniently dumping all this information now,
Yeah.
when no one's paying attention.
yeah, yeah. Or you don't because you're so numb. But
Yeah.
but people are waking up. And we're seeing it now, and we're seeing it with the younger generation, and they're looking at world events where maybe my generation, or definitely people before, we would just go, oh, that's just the way it is, and they're saying, no, that's not the way it is. And if it was the way it is, it's not going to be the way it's going to be now with us. And these people vote now. See,
Yeah.
before they didn't vote, you had no use for it, you know. And so we're living in an exciting and concerning time.
But
Yeah.
it is exciting. You're right, and you know we've talked about this before. It's like humanity it's at a crossroads almost, right? It almost seems
There's
like
a
it's at
tipping
crossroads.
point.
Yeah, a tipping point. We're
Yeah.
either going to go just like the old. What was that? That was the Hopi prophecy. It's either you're going to go the one path toward enlightenment, or you're going to go the one path toward total and complete destruction. Which one's it
Right.
going to be?
And it's
And
happened before, right?
it has happened before. Yes.
That this is not the only time that civilizations on Earth have had a, what do they call it now, an extinction level event.
Yes.
We could cause this one, but there's several flood stories if you want to look at the Bible, and
Right.
you look at all the thing that interests me or intrigues me is all these end time prophecies, right? Plato talked about that he learned this from what's the Babylonian priest, Braceras. I'm tearing his name up, and he said he got it from an Egyptian priest who got it from an Atlantean. But anyway, that there's all these cataclysms. They happen about every 5,000-6,000 years.
Yeah.
If you look at Genesis, when you look at Genesis, not 6 with the sons of God, but the earth is void, but the earth's already here. All these other things were created, but and remember they're separating the dry land
Yes.
from the salt water. That sounds like a cataclysm to me.
Well,
The
yeah.
earth's already here, and these beings have come and they're separating it. But my point being, and I'm going to shut up after this, that all these, I have friends who would say, well, they're going to come and save us. And I'm like, well, you just changed your Christianity story to an extraterrestrial kind. There's someone going to come and save you. Is that really true? Can you really put all your eggs in that basket? And I was like, it just doesn't make,
Because realistically, how many years, how many thousands now has that been the agenda? They're going to come save us. You can't put all your eggs in that basket. You can place your faith in the Creator and in the prophecies all day long. That's fine. But when it push comes to shove, how many of these end time prophecies are going to happen over and over and over and over until that's the one? No, this is the one. This is.
But you know what? But hold on. But they've happened. They've happened.
They do happen.
Yeah, I mean, but these beings come, it's like we get a reboot,
Yeah.
whether it's Enki and Lil and the
There it
Sumerian
is.
text. Look, if you look now, hear me out. I still don't, I wouldn't put my eggs in that basket, but all these, okay, Christianity has the book of Revelations, Armageddon.
Yeah.
Hinduism offers a version of that with Vishnu coming back.
Yes.
Yes.
The Mayans talk, they have their
Yes.
calendar.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to say is whether it's Viking culture, Nordics, whether it's African culture, whether it's the Hopi, it's all these civilizations have an end time prophecy where we come, where we come to a cataclysm or some type of war, and these beings come from the sky and they reboot everything.
Yeah.
And it's happened. Hinduism has it. There's Vishnu comes back. A guy named Kolki comes back on a white horse. In some Buddhist prophecies, it's where are they getting this?
Yeah.
Not unless it has happened before. And if Plato was right that we had these every 5,000-6,000 years, something happens, whether it's a pole shift or what have you, and he's getting his information from other civilizations that can remember that. We could be at that point, and since we know it's happened before, where these beings have come down and maybe made us Homo sapiens sapiens or what have you, we could be living in that time.
Yeah.
And where, heaven forbid, it must be horrifying. Can you imagine a pole shift or an earthquake or all of that happening, and humanity gets the reboot?
Yes.
Humanity gets the reboot.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not going to personally say I'm going to wait for somebody to come and save me. I'm going to try to live my life as best I can and try to love my fellow brothers and sisters as best I can. And I'll just leave the rest to wherever, however it goes.
Yeah.
But there's something in those stories that our ancestors are telling us that not only has it happened, but it could happen again.
Absolutely.
The Hopi talk about it. They're all talking about it.
I'm really interested in what they can finally cobble together out of the remains of Göbekli Tepe and Kairon.
Yes.
I want to see what kind of cataclysm stories that are
Tepe.
pieced together with that, especially with the newest, with Kairon being discovered. And
it's going to rewrite everything we knew.
It's so fascinating.
It's going to rewrite everything we know.
It's
makes you think about when we're going into Iraq and we're having those wars. Are we really there? We're there for many things geopolitically, for oil, for controlling that part. But what about the technology, the ancient technology that's rumored to have been there?
Well, you look back.
The archaeology with.
Yeah. You look back currently with what has been coming out with David Grush and what's come out from some of these other whistleblower types, and they're stating legacy projects. And Bob Lazar had even stated that a group of the saucers were discovered in a Central American temple when it was unearthed, that they'd found it underground. And who's to say that that's not the same stuff going on? I'm sure Central America was not just like the one place. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Especially when you have things like
all over the world.
What took place in India, in the stories of all the crafts and the wars that took place in the sky.
Yes, and the Upanishads and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder what the war in Iraq, because that's Mesopotamia.
Yeah,
that's where that's predating Genesis, and Enki and Alil, Stitchin talking about them, and the technology that they had. Maybe we were there for more than one reason.
Right.
There have been stories about vets who said, I went there thinking I was going to be doing this, and the next thing you know, I'm protecting these archaeological sites, and I'm thinking I'm here to fight this war, and then my government is looking for technology that still exists. So I mean, it's everything we were told is probably a lie.
Yep.
And
I would agree with that.
yeah. But it's exciting, and here we are living in these times, sharing this information with your viewers, your listeners. It's exciting, and it's also concerning because, like you said, Ron, we're at a tipping point. But the tipping point is this has happened before. It's unique to us now because we are at a technological state in our development as human beings. But there have been cataclysms. There's always wars and rumors of wars.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see where we go. And I'm going to segue into our segment about the biblical or the religious part, because that's what the government is not talking about. And I can understand why, for all the obvious reasons, because religion is used to control. Doesn't always mean religion is bad. There's good theology and there's dysfunctional theology.
And it's often what's used to control is the end of days talk.
I think we need to also,
because that's the fear.
You guys address this to the audience as well. When you're talking about religion, you're not talking about spirituality.
That's true.
I think there's a clear defining line that goes down between those.
Yep.
And religion, yes, I mean, it's been proven. It's basically another form of government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is. I don't know if it was always that way, though.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah, because if we look at, for instance, Judaism, Judaism was more pantheistic because when these beings came down to colonize, there were some who were helpful, and there were some who just wanted to keep us in slavery, that we were so ignorant we didn't even know we were naked. But in the 6th and 7th century, when Hezekiah and his grandson Josiah, who came, they remember when you read, they started taking down all the temples and the altars that were to Asherah, Dagon, Baal, and I was taught that these were you just weren't supposed to, it was only Yahweh. But we come to find out that these altars and stuff were built because these were star people who helped. Asherah, who has different names in different cultures, but she taught, thank God, how to make beer. She taught how cosmetics. She taught how to farm and what plants were good for consciousness and what was poisonous. And civilizations talk about these beings coming down, helping us. Okay? But Yahweh was, because of translations and stuff, Yahweh was one of other. If you go to Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, Yahweh is given the Middle East. He's given that by another commander. He's given that land. And so they become his people. Zechariah Sitchin talks about in the wars of gods and men, when we are fighting with these, when my brother here talks about the Upanishads and stuff, who's fighting with Vishnu? Who's fighting? Human beings are fighting with them. But so when Hezekiah decides he worshiped Yahweh. So there's going to be one God now. So he tore down all those temples. And you read the Bible now, and I was taught in seminary that, these are false gods, these are demons, no, they were just other extraterrestrials. But Yahweh said, and so Hezekiah goes, one temple, Jerusalem, one king, me, one high priest. That's where we started getting the hierarchy. Right? Yeah. And it comes from them. It comes from these beings, and we just took that on because why? because it's easy to govern. All the shekels now come to the temple in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
There are no other gods. And they rewrote the
And
scriptures there.
what's really interesting too is that Yahweh even said, "Yeah, you don't need a king. Like the people don't need a king. You're the one that wants a king."
Yes.
Okay.
And
You want to
Samuel,
be
though,
king? Alrighty.
but in Samuel, let me make sure I get it right for the Bible thumpers out there. But in Samuel, they tell Yahweh, hold on, they tell Yahweh
You need a
that we don't want First Samuel chapter 8. The people want human rule.
They do.
They
Yeah.
accuse Yahweh's prophet Samuel and his three sons were corrupt. And they said we don't want, because remember Yahweh they choose Saul.
Yeah.
They choose Saul.
They choose Saul.
And Saul had his own problems, and
Yep.
and Samuel is angry with Saul because Yahweh told him to wipe out men, women, and children, and Saul didn't do it. And you
Yep.
say, well, what kind of God would want you to commit genocide? See, but so if your God can commit genocide, then it's okay for you to commit genocide. If your God says these people are saved, these are not my people, you're my people, then that's what you do. And a lot of the problems that we have today are because mistranslations in the Bible, and we're using Yahweh. The Middle East, they all worship a form of Yahweh.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, the Muslims
It's
call
all
him
the
Allah.
same. It's all the God of Abraham. When you get down
Right.
to the bottom, mix it, it's the God of Abraham.
But now that we look at it, we know those gods weren't gods at all. They were extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials.
If we look at this in the ancient astronaut theory, right?
Yeah.
And we start using those labels again, and we're seeing this ancient war that took place between these beings with humanity stuck in the middle, basically. That's what we're seeing, right?
That's what you're saying.
And we have pretty much, I mean, is this part of the whole ontological shock thing that we're not supposed to be able to handle? Because, I mean, it makes too much sense, honestly.
I think it is.
I
I think it's that. Because now listen to what I'm saying. Because when we go to the New Testament, gang, Jesus doesn't talk about Yahweh. And when Jesus talks about his God, his Father,
Yeah.
If anything, Jesus talks against Yahweh. And we can get into that on Tuesday. But my point being is that but my point being is just that that's the shock that we're not the top of the food chain. It does make you have to start thinking, what is really God then? What does that mean? Who is God? What does that mean? Because the idea of God is in the Old Testament, but these beings are, they're mistaken for gods because of their technology. But the God that they're talking about shows up. You kind of feel him there when you're reading, but no God is going to commit genocide. No God is going to wipe out people because they don't believe. No God is going to say, you just don't do that.
Right.
But we've been taught that, and we don't question it, except the ones who do either leave the church because they're saying, I can't stomach this anymore. This is not making sense to me.
Right. Because you're reading so many things. And like, I've had a lot of conversations with those people.
Yeah.
And there's a huge movement right now, deconstructionists that are deconstructing their faith currently within the Christian religion because of the when you read a lot of these texts and you see some of the conflict that exists there of love your brother, love your neighbor versus kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the government doesn't want to touch that. Now, the only people, I was not raised Catholic, and I have a problem with a lot of their theology, even though I love the Gregorian chants and, I love all the ritual.
Yeah.
But as as distasteful as some of their stuff is to me, I have to tip my hat to them because they've been talking about this issue and taking it very seriously.
Yeah, they have been.
They
And
have been.
the Pope even issued a statement back, was it 2009?
2009.
Yeah.
That these are
Yeah.
our brothers and sisters, and you shouldn't be surprised. And that people having these experiences are not meeting demons.
Right.
And you can still be a Christian or whatever you want to be, but we're in the West, so you can still be a Christian and still believe that you live in a populated universe. And I'm not hearing anybody else talk about that. I know why they don't, because they don't want to lose their tenure in seminary. They don't want to lose their professorship. They don't want to lose their jobs. But it's coming out now. We're going to have to deal with this.
No,
We're
you're
going to
100%
have
right.
to deal with this.
Yeah.
And when you say I live in a universe that's populated, you have to change your idea of what God is.
You do.
Yes.
And you know, there's so many things going around right now with you had the one congressman that back in, I want to say September, it was maybe August, when he was confronted out front by the press, and he just said, "Lock your doors tonight."
Oh, it was in July. I remember.
July.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, lock your doors tonight, because he was in such shock. He was just lock your doors tonight.
Lock your doors tonight.
Like that's one that's going to stop anything. It doesn't even stop people half the time.
Right. And
Like-
that fear factor, man.
Yeah.
You can control people by fear. We've got some people, and even in our government, brother, who they just can't handle this, or they're all devils.
When you come at this from a response with the whole UFO topic, because tonight, I know we're 40 minutes in here, but we're getting into this meat of a topic where right now you've got people all around the world, not just in the United States, but all around the world, who do not know what to think of these UFOs. They do not know what to think of extraterrestrials, and the instant easy go-to is aliens. Like it's easy to say aliens are demons. It's
easy.
Oh,
say
yeah.
aliens are demons.
Yeah,
And
100%. And one
they'll
of the
reference
things,
scripture.
well, the scripture that the references, though. Here's the problem, Joe. I was reading in this one book here alone. It's talking about there's 80,000 discrepancies that have been found. 80,000 discrepancies just in textual, in the translations.
Yeah.
I mean,
And a lot of those, they're not like, just to speak to that for a moment, those discrepancies are not always discrepancy, like where they contradict one another to a degree. It's more or less situational, sociological, and etymology. The words then, just like today, we have our own slang, like lit. You got all the kids running, oh, that's lit. Or, there are certain words that were used as slang that then became proper and then became slang again. And their etymology changed as they grew. And, some of these things, the way we say them now, the way it was translated into English in scripture, and the way that we interpret English, and we have looked at these words from Aramaic, from ancient Hebrew to Greek and Latin, and brought them into English. It's a really dirty process sometimes.
that's what I'm saying. Those are discrepancies of the original text.
Yeah. And so you got to look at this in a way that, there's the context. It's more contextual issues than anything. Because we look at certain verses and we can read them one way, and in English it's a really dirty translation, and it's just like, yikes. That's
You got to think too about how differently that English flows compared to like
Right.
Hebrew. Hebrew is
Right.
spoken more like poetry.
Well, yeah.
Hebrew's very direct.
I mean, when words,
Yeah.
some words don't even make sense, though,
Right.
and yet they were used canonically.
Well, yeah, brothers, but I got to tell you this. All that's true what you just said, but some of these words are just mean what they say. It's just the way they've been translated. I mean, when you look at what Ezekiel sees, he's describing a craft.
Right.
Just
A
clear
wheel
as
in the
day.
sky.
But
I think so.
whatever way you translate that. And the thing is that they didn't have words to describe what they were seeing.
Right.
Okay,
that the lexicon didn't
we,
exist.
but we have the words.
Right.
Like we can read Ezekiel and say, "This man is seeing a craft."
A
You don't
wheel
have to
within
know
a wheel.
Hebrew.
That's a UFO.
Yeah. You don't have to know Aramaic. All
Right.
you have to look at it the way it's there. And
Yeah.
so, but we weren't taught that. I mean, there's a patent on Ezekiel, what he saw. NASA has a patent on that.
Yeah.
I forgot
Really?
the
I can't
Yeah.
remember the guy's name. Yeah.
Oh.
he wrote the Spaceships
Joseph
of Ezekiel.
Bloomridge. He wrote the Spaceships of Ezekiel.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has a patent on that. So,
Hmm.
if you look at it that way, they were just trying to describe what they saw. They say one like the Son of Man. We would say, well, that's a humanoid. They're
Yeah.
saying he looks human, but he's not. So we'll say he's like the Son of Man. But we have the words for that.
Right.
But they're clearly telling us that we are in contact with beings that are godlike, that they're gods to us, and that they've been here. And then you go back and you read the Mesopotamian text, and where you read these, because all these cultures have it.
They do.
All these cultures have these stories, and so here we are in 2023, going in, we're 24 years into the 21st century, and we're dealing with what our ancestors dealt with. Hezekiah, Josiah, they wanted people, get rid of that. We don't want you talking about these other beings. We don't want you to. They were government people. Okay, they're saying there's one God. There's no UFO. No, there's one God. There's one king. There's one temple in Jerusalem. That's where you send all your money, all your shekels. Okay, and if you don't do it this way, and we're playing the same game now. It's just that we have planes and lasers, and we're dealing with the same thing our ancestors dealt with.
Yeah.
Wow. And before all that, Yahweh was just a god of the sea before he became so popular.
He was an angry. He was
associated with storms and
god
battles.
of the mountains.
He was like Poseidon, basically.
Angry. He was a mess.
And we look at a lot of these things, and the words are important.
Mm-hmm.
Elohim is
another
name.
The key. That's the key word.
And Elohim is more of, that's the Father. That's it addresses more of a paternal deity, and is not associated with the battles and the storms and the rage and the vengeance, but more associated with the generosity and the love and the kindness and the paternal aspects. And it's you get really into some rocky waters when you start looking at these things deeply, which is, I think, what is going to be caused ultimately by much of what's coming in the future. Because people are going to have to ask, they're going to have to ask the serious questions of, how is this going to fundamentally change me? How is this going to affect my faith? Yep. And the answer is, it doesn't have to. It's going to affect you directly, because you have to come to terms with this paradigm that you're entering into. Right. But your faith doesn't have to be dashed upon the rocks.
No, but you're right. But we're being told that.
Yeah.
By people who want to keep power, by people who are afraid,
right?
And they want to keep the status quo, and because as long as I keep you in fear, you're easy for me to control. But don't ask these questions. If you ask those questions, you don't have faith. You're a heretic. You're a blasphemer.
There it is. There it is. So every time that we hear something at this point, it's automatically in a lot of these, in a great deal of these groups. You see it on TikTok, you see it on Facebook, you see it on all kinds of stuff. They're demons.
Yeah.
Can you guys? I got two people here who are very, very versed in theology. Can you please explain to me and the rest of the world? I'm pretty sure I already know, but the rest of the world, what a demon is and how it relates to the so-called fallen, which they think is what demons are, which I absolutely believe are not. So,
Well,
can you
and
explain that, both of you?
I'll let Reverend Carter take up after this one and express anything further. But demons, right? They're at the root. It's just an evil spirit, a tormenting spirit, forceful, evil, just vile, malevolent. All of these bad words that mean bad things. Essentially, that's what a demonic entity is. There's something that's going to plague you, something that's going to come after you and torment you and cause you suffering. um are those the fallen? I've never seen anywhere in scripture ever, in any outside of some of the Catholic dogma. I've not seen anything in any books and studies that reference that the fallen or the Nephilim were demons.
You're telling me that demons are non-physical. That's
Yeah,
what
they're
your
spirit.
definition is.
They're
You're telling
spirit.
me the fallen, however, were not non-physical. They were physical
Right.
beings of some sort. Is that right, gentlemen?
That's the way I understand it. How about what about you, Reverend?
Okay, I'm looking at the word demon. It's an evil spirit or devil, one thought to possess a person, as you said, or act as a tormentor in hell. It's from the Greek word daemon, which
Yes.
means a supernatural being or spirit. Now, we see in Christian theology that and even in Islam, um, but you know, even in Gnostic theology, some of them are called archons, right? They're
Yeah.
spirits. They can cling to you and what have you. But Christianity has posited that some of these beings can be manifest as physical, and that's why they're saying that the UFO
Okay.
people
Right.
are demons.
But they
And
posture these ideas with no
right,
basis.
right. They
Wait,
do.
what
They
now?
do.
Did
They
you say?
definitely do. But that's what they're saying. Now, if we go to the book of Enoch,
Yeah.
you know, they're using it as these beings rebelled against God. So to do that, you must have been a demon. You've either followed Satan or you're part of Satan's minions, but
Yeah.
you are against God. But all we see, you know, that's one way of looking at the story. There's another way of looking at the story or stories, but mainline Christianity. Look, when I first started talking about this 25 years ago, guys, Christianity wasn't even touching it, right?
Yeah.
Then brothers and sisters started talking about it. So now that first they said they don't exist. Now they say they do exist, but they're demons.
Right.
And then okay, so that's progress. They do exist, but again, um, but they're demons.
Right.
I think some of people, you know, some of the reptilians, they get a bad rap because they're different types of reptilians.
Look different,
But
right?
but we have that dragon, the serpent. They're evil. It's what we've been
But the key
raised
the
with.
key thing about the serpent that nobody seems to remember is that the serpent once walked with four legs, but was then condemned to slither on its belly to the end of its days.
Right.
You know, and so this is not a reptile person. It was a literal serpent. It was a lizard creature that was speaking and was evil and vile. It wasn't even necessarily Satan. It was just a slick tongued critter in the garden, and now it's cursed to crawl on its belly. That doesn't mean necessarily that this thing is what fathered all the reptilian race or was even
No,
associated.
no, it doesn't mean that at all, and it doesn't
Yeah,
also mean that it was necessarily evil. If you could read the story that that this being is trying to raise their consciousness and
right.
saying that if you eat this, you because when you look at the Bible and you look at especially in Genesis and in the Tower of Babel, these beings don't want us to evolve. They
Yeah.
want us to stay so ignorant that we don't even know we're naked. And here we have this being saying, he's not, if you eat that, you will have knowledge. And so he's punished for that. If you looked at the Tower of Babel, what the Tower of Babel was a building that, You know,
Right.
they had tenets and what it was a rocket. And they wanted to reach the heavens. We see that in the Greek thing with the story of Prometheus. And what did the gods do? What did Elohim say? We got to cut this off at the knees.
Because you
Because
become
if they
as
start
gods.
doing this, there's not going to be anything they won't do. So you have this faction of extraterrestrials who want us to grow. Let's see where the experiment is going to go. And then there's other experiments. It's the other extraterrestrials who will say, no, they're noisy. They're sloppy. They're in the way. Let's drown them and start all over. So and you have that faction now.
Yeah.
And that's why when you try to connect the dots, that there's always been a segment of a galactic council in whatever translation you have. It's the heavenly council. It's the divine council. However you translate it. But they are a gathering. I call them the Galactic Federation, but they are saying, what do we want to do with human beings? What are we going to do with human beings? That has always been the problem or the challenge. What are we going to do with them? Whether you're reading the Epic of Gilgamesh or whether you're reading the Book of Jubilees, what are we going to do with these people?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Because
true.
if you were to just look at some of these characters that are being described, you know, you see these humanoid animals, you know, look like a man with the head of a lion or a sheep with the body of this. You see a lot of that. And where are they sitting? They're sitting in the throne room. What's called, is called the throne room. And they're all in this council, like you were saying. And there's cherubim, there's angels with wings to fly and wings to cover their eyes, wings to cover their hands, and wings to cover their feet.
Yeah.
And
it's all these beings and genetically engineered.
Right. That's the animal
Some
thing.
of them. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and you see all this stuff being described, and you're describing this very strange area that you're in, essentially. And it's like what could be observed is this isn't a person who's standing on board of a craft, and he's seeing the unfolding of what do we do with these people.
So basically, sitting in at a council meeting is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, the Garden of Eden they could be in a laboratory. But okay, let's look. Okay, again,
it's one day we need to have you on and do like a pre-Adamite civilization talk. That'd be fun.
Let me tell you, man. Okay, so I just don't want to lose this train.
Go.
There. Okay, if you look at, hold on. This is not a pretty picture that I'm going to paint here, but okay, if you look at, if you go to 1 Kings 22, chapters 9, verses 19 to 23, there's a prophet named Micaiah, not Micah, Micaiah, and he remote views because he's seeing this in a vision, an ET council meeting. Now, forget the words used; it depends on your translation, but it's a bunch of non-human people.
Yeah.
And they're trying to discuss a false flag operation. And Yahweh, this is supposed to be God. Why is God in a back room with people trying to start a mess? And Yahweh is trying to start a war. So he's still doing his geopolitical stuff. And he says, who will put a lying prophecy into this prophet's tongue? Now, this is supposed to be God now. And a spirit steps forward. They don't say he's an angel. They don't say he's an archon. They just say a spirit steps forward and he says, I'll do it. I'll do it. And these it's right there. It's like, but it's hidden in plain sight. But we weren't taught to ask those questions. There's an ET council meeting. They're all together. And so here's one for you. In Daniel 10:13, there's an angel who's nameless. Angel means messenger. We don't know what he looks like, okay? So he was supposed to come to assist Daniel, but he tells Daniel this. This is in 10:13. He says, it took me 3 weeks to get to you. He
Yeah.
said, because I was fighting the Prince of Persia, but Michael came. And so Michael came to relieve me. And so I could talk to you. Okay. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. Now, Michael is an archangel in the Catholic pantheon, but he sounds like an extraterrestrial to me. This guy's fighting Persia. So, Michael, you come. I need reinforcements. I got to get this message to Daniel. It's right there. So, what do you see there? That these are beings. They're colonizing. They're fighting each other. And who's caught in the middle? Because there's some human beings fighting for Daniel and for Michael, and there's some human beings fight. And this is not to excuse us, but today we have that same hierarchy.
Yes.
And because when they left, their sons and daughters, some of them were hybrids, they stayed on, and they were governing. And then when they left, they appointed high priests, human beings. Where do you think they learned to govern from? From the extraterrestrials who were there. And so we have this hierarchy. Rome had it. You have
Egypt had it.
God, the emperor, and the bishops. Then you had the priests. Well, then you had senators and what have you. Then you had the priests and people like us. That's that pyramid hierarchy that we still have now. I don't care. You can say that the president is on, but we know that presidents are being run by corporations, and God knows who's telling them what to do. But we got that hierarchy. We learned it from our colonizers.
Speaking of that, if you go down to verse 16 in that same chapter, it says Daniel saw one in the likeness of the children of man.
Mm-hmm.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Well, in the likeness of, see, we would call that, we call
word.
that a humanoid.
Right.
We call
Sounds
that
like they've
humanoid.
shapeshifted to look like us, is the way it's been described.
Right.
Well,
In their words, they're saying the likeness of, but that likeness means that we're not sure if he's human, but she's human, but there's a likeness of.
when you
That's
look
the
down a
language
hallway,
thing.
when you look down a hallway that's backlit and you squint your eyes, you see the likeness of a human shape,
Humanoid.
right? It is a human shape. It is 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, shoulders. You see that? That is the human shape, right? That is the likeness of man. So when you hear these descriptions of, and he saw one that looked as in the likeness of this of man, then you can take into consideration it at least had a head, shoulders, arms, and legs. Now, they describe these other things very, very descriptively. You know, you'll see things that are described as these amalgamations of animals, and they'll describe it had the claws of this and the teeth of this, the eyes of this. That's not the likeness of man. So it implies that there are entities that are in the likeness of man. Now, that doesn't mean that they look like me and have a beard and wear pirate shirts all the time, but it means that they have this semblance of humanity that we
they're anthropomorphic. They're anthropomorphic.
just
they have arms and legs
exactly.
and what have you. But like in the story I was telling you about prior to that, when the spirit comes, he's remote viewing this now. We don't know what that may be a being without a body.
Yeah.
Right.
That may be a being maybe a pure, and he doesn't say likeness of, he says a spirit said to Yahweh. But they're using the words again to try to explain what they saw
with
5,000-6,000 years ago. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but again, it lends itself to there are all kinds of beings out here.
Yeah.
That were interacting with our biblical ancestors and before. Okay.
And so we see this in every culture. It's not, we keep referencing the Judeo-Christian and Islam backgrounds and the God of Abraham and such, but we see this in every culture. We've referenced India multiple times. We've seen this in Chinese culture,
in Viking culture, in African culture,
African culture,
Mesoamerican,
Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl.
It's also interesting in that too. In that same chapter, it talks about how Daniel was struck mute and he lost all of his strength and he couldn't move or talk until they allowed him to.
Yeah. So that's like paralysis.
Like sleep paralysis.
Somebody got paralysis.
Yeah.
It's like,
it happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
So these beings have been here.
Yeah.
and they've shaped our culture. They've shaped our politics. They shaped, and I think our ancestors were trying to tell us too that beyond this human overlay, there's an otherworldly governance that behind everything that goes on. And so, you know, now you're thinking about, so when Jesus comes along, right? And he's like the entities that he's involved with, they're totally different from Yahweh. He brings a whole different way. And this, when I say that he goes against Yahweh, there are about 37 times about in the Bible, in the New Testament, in the gospel stories, Jesus says, Moses told you this, but I tell you this. You remember
Yes.
reading that? And remember, because Moses was a Yahwist, Moses worshiped Yahweh.
Yeah.
And so he's always challenging. What does he tell the Pharisees when they say, you don't know anything about us? You know, Moses is our father. And then Jesus says, well, you know, your father was a liar and always was. He's talking about Yahweh. And here's the story that really makes my point. They're arguing with Jesus, the Pharisees. And Jesus says to them,
Yeah.
what father who, if their child asked them for bread, would give them a stone? What father, if your child asked you for bread, you know, you give them a serpent? Well, if you go in Numbers, and if you go in the Exodus story, Yahweh does just that. The Hebrews have been wandering in the desert. They're tired of eating this manna. There's not even a Hebrew word for it. It means we don't know what it is.
Yeah, manna just means what is
and
it?
they're tired.
That's the literal
Yes.
translation is what
Yeah.
is it?
What is this? And
Yeah.
so, and when Yahweh says, when they complain, they go to Moses and say, you need to talk to Yahweh. We're tired of walking around. I mean, this is a mess.
Yeah.
And Yahweh goes off. And so they're asking him for bread. Yahweh sends them serpents. Some of the serpents bite the people. Some of them die. And then when they keep complaining, he gives them, which is interesting, he gives them a staff to look at that has a serpent on it, and some of them are healed. But does that sound like Jesus is worshiping Yahweh? Sounds like he's criticizing Yahweh to me.
Well,
Because
when
he's
Jesus
saying,
comes on the scene,
what father would do that?
when Jesus comes on the scene, one of his greatest proclamations was that I am. You know, like that I am declaration was a hearkening back to Exodus, which was in a point in time when
Well, he says, I am the way.
I am, yeah, but
I am
then
the way, the truth, and the light. Yahweh
yeah.
says, I am that I am. Nowhere
Right.
in the Bible does Jesus even mention Yahweh, but the only time he refers to Yahweh that I know of is what I just mentioned, and that sounds like a rebuke of Yahweh.
Well,
What kind of father
when you
would do
when you
that
get
to
to
his
the
children?
when you get to the trial, essentially, what is the Sanhedrinal trial with Christ, and they stand before him and said, "Who is it that you say you are?" And he just said, "I am," and they shuddered and fell. You know, he was taking on and saying that, "No, I am," like not in the sense that like, who do you say I am? Like, oh, I'm me. He was declaring the same terminology that was used in Exodus that was given, saying that I am the God above all. You know, and he said that no, when they said, "Who do you say you are?" He's like, "I am." And
I
that
see
was
what
when
you
he,
mean.
took the stamp down and said, "I am the way. I am.
Not
I am
them,
the I
me.
am."
But totally different
Yeah,
context than Yahweh.
right.
And that's what got him in trouble,
That's what
because
happened. Yeah.
Yep.
it's like you saying to Christians, no, this is not what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And then they would come down on you like a ton of bricks. Well, this is what happened with him. And then of course it was the political thing with Rome.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but we're talking about two different entities.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrial, because if your father is not human and your mother is, that means you're not fully human.
Right.
That explains some. To me, it explains some of Jesus.
What's going
His
on there?
teachings were definitely from they were otherworldly. To love your enemies, to forgive. That's not an earthly kind of thing.
No.
But here we have these beings. I mean, who when Peter's in jail in Acts, who comes and get him? An angel, and they get him out of jail. Angel. I put extraterrestrial. So our ancestors were living and interacting with these beings,
So the angels.
and some of them were helpful,
Yes.
and
that's
some
what
of
I wanted to
them
get at. Yeah.
were not.
But they're the same beings, right? We're still, I mean, or are they the same?
No, because there were many races already here. You have Vishnu, and you have the folk over in India. They were blue. A lot of them were blue.
That's right. Yeah.
You see them depicted as blue. So that's a whole different race of people. That's a whole different. The whole earth was colonized. And again, if you go back to 32:8, you will see. You just read the different translations, but then you don't have to know Hebrew but you will see that he was allotted. Yahweh, this is your land over here. Ron, you're going to take over there. You know, there's like a commander, the Lord, but there's a Lord telling Yahweh. If Yahweh's God, why would someone have to tell him that's your land over there? Right. Because when you took the land, you took the people with it.
This makes sense, and this goes into the whole sons of God thing, right? I mean,
yeah,
because that's a literal translation of what you're getting at. It's sons of, subordinates of, so to speak.
So rather than saying sons of God, it would probably be sons of the Elohim, or sons of the commander. Yeah.
Okay. So the Elohim is that the ultimate?
That was the Elohim was always portrayed as a paternal, caring, like the father figure, in the Jewish texts and in the Judeo-Christian, the New Testament stuff. It's always referred to as father. And Elohim is definitely not. Elohim is let's kill them all, light it up. It was just like his marching orders were the same as General Tecumseh Sherman's marching orders.
We're talking about military armies, colonies.
Yeah, it was scorched earth.
But there was some, there was scorched earth with some. Yahweh was part of that. But again, there were some who were not, and so it's that whole rubric. There was some Anunnaki that were more friendly than others. But
where do they come from, Michael? Where do they enter the scene? The Anakim, is that the Anunnaki? Is that
the Hopi talk about the ant people, and they talk. And I don't know if you could make a connection with that. But the Anunnaki are those who Zechariah Stitchin translated as those who came down.
With what you're the Anunnaki. This is something I've always wanted to ask you this question, and I've forgot every single time. So we're going to do it on the show.
Okay.
The son, when Caleb and Joshua went out and they saw the sons of Ankh, the Anakim, were those the same? Was that?
Yeah.
Is that the Anunnaki?
Yes.
Are those the same peoples?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you can see.
I wanted to get your opinion on that and see what you thought, because
because a lot of them were called by different names,
right?
But we know they were giants.
Yeah,
we know that they were offspring of mating with earth women, and so they must have been enough of a compatibility genetically to get women pregnant,
right?
And of course, some of them probably were in the lab. We see that in Genesis.
Yeah.
But and their offspring, they had 6 digits on their hand, and they were giants.
So these were the giants, right? These were so basically a lot of people are getting this wrong at this point, is what I'm getting at, because they're telling us that,
they think the Nephilim. So you got, we're getting into the point where we're now trying to decipher differences between Nephilim, Raphaim, and Anakim.
And what they have in common is that they're all giants. So a lot. It may be the same name. I mean, they may be talking about the same a group of people.
Now, I'm
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're how familiar you are with this. I mean, you've probably read it somewhere at some point, knowing you, and with your background and experience. I worked with a Rabbi Wusher for years. He was Rabbi Emeritus here in Huntington, West Virginia, and I studied with him because I wanted to understand the Judaism. I wanted to understand where the roots of the faith that I follow come from, and we would talk about things, and I had to, just because I asked him about the Nephilim, and he said, he said, because you're not part of my congregation, but you're I'm kind of mentoring you along this path. He said, this is a fun conversation to have. So we started talking, and he was telling me that the word Nephilim, the way it came into English and what we say it is now is very different than the root word, because it comes from Nephal and Im, which is fallen ones. Nephal means to fall, and so it wasn't so much that the Nephilim were the offspring of these beings, but the Nephilim were the actual ones that fell, and it wasn't necessarily the Nephilim were the offspring. Now that was his take, and he'd been a rabbi for a thousand years. He
Yeah.
was crusty and old. Like Rabbi Wusher, God love him. He was an awesome guy. I really enjoyed my time with him, and it was a great few years. But he had had this, and he'd studied it himself, and
Yeah.
we did a word study, an etymological word study, where we went through and we broke down the language, and he was showing me some of the text. That's where I was first introduced to the Book of Enoch. I didn't know
Yes.
anything about it before him. And he showed me the book, and we started going over it. And this was back in, I think it was 2005, and it was 2005, 2006, that time frame. So we'd sit and talked about it, and there was a lot of discrepancy within just the English language with where the Nephilim fell and what exactly that word meant. Were they the offspring of the fallen, or were they the fallen themselves? Because
I hear what you're saying. I'm sorry. Go on. No, go on.
because the word literally means the fallen ones.
Well, the thing, yes, so, but the thing is, you don't want to lose the forest for the trees.
Right.
They
You don't.
fell from outer space.
Right. Exactly.
So, and I get what you're saying, but we don't
Right.
want to lose sight of that these beings came from elsewhere.
Right.
And that's the whole point.
But the reason I wanted to bring that up is because we have a lot of people who are interested in this topic,
right?
But they're interested in they hear the Nephilim. Nephilim's like a buzzword right now,
Yes.
and it has
it's
been
Bigfoot.
for some time.
It's demons. It's Bigfoot. It's
Nephilim.
everything.
Like you got disembodied Nephilim. You've got Nephilim this, Nephilim that. You've got
Yes.
Bigfoot or Nephilim. You've got cryptids or Nephilim. And when we look back at some of these words and these beings, they share a common center, like with what you were saying. They came from elsewhere.
Yes.
And we try to link that together, but I think a lot of it gets lost when we brought it into English, because in Hebrew, one word might have 8 meanings.
Mhm.
One word in some cases might have up to 12 meanings, but when we bring
depending on the situation,
the context of that
story.
situation. In English, it's got one word that means there's only one word that means this.
It's like German has all these words for love, and we have one.
Exactly.
No, your point is definitely well taken.
Yeah.
And again, but see, that's where the theology piece comes in.
It is,
because you can say they were fallen. Someone else may say they're just like sailors on shore leave.
Right.
They started fraternizing with the natives,
and I use fallen loosely.
Bad thing.
Yeah. Like in this context, fallen. I'm using fallen loosely. Like it's what the word
I'm not critiquing.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, but that's the theological piece,
right?
Because maybe they weren't fallen at all. When I read the Book of Enoch, and they give the names of some, it was 200 of them. They came down, they landed on Mount Heaven, and maybe they had a prime directive. Right. You don't mess with these folks. And they're like, okay, but we kind of dig them. The women look good. Let's go on down. Yeah. But when you look at
metal stuff. We'll teach them how to make
Well,
metal.
yeah, look what they taught.
Yeah.
Now, they taught cosmetics, they taught astronomy, they taught astrology, they taught them how to make defensive weapons. But maybe we weren't ready for that, and that was the
Right.
danger.
Yeah.
But the theological part says, well, see, they disobeyed God when they probably just disobeyed the commander of their ship.
They were
Yeah.
probably told not to mate with the humans.
That's what they did. And so
Don't
now
go
you're
down there
demon.
and Captain James
Yeah,
T.
now-
Kirk guys.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Don't
And
Leave
go
them
to Penny
alone.
Company Inc.
And now you're a demon, but
Yeah.
baby, you just went down and, Commander Ron said, just don't do it. And we did it.
Yeah.
And now we're demons. So, and so that's where the theological piece comes in. They're not demons
Right.
at all. They probably disobeyed some orders.
I like what you just said, though, Michael,
And so-
because the act of doing it doesn't change what they were. It just changed how they were perceived. And I
Yeah.
think that that's one of the biggest issues that people have with this, because they automatically assume, they were cast out of heaven. They
Well, now,
fell and they
let's-
turned into this or that.
Let's look at this though real quick with what you just said. That our perception of them changed because of what they did. When we let's look at this military like, right?
Yes.
When someone gets a dishonorable discharge, we instantly think that's a bad person. They're ineligible for how many jobs? They essentially get demonized.
Yeah.
They might not have done anything that was terrible, and they might have done it by accident. Could have been guilt by association, but because the way the UCMJ is written up, sorry, kid, dishonorable discharge or less than honorable discharge.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
If you're combining what Michael had said earlier with how that they were here, they were basically based here for a time, had a prime directive and deviated from the directive, and all of a sudden they got cast out. We see these entities as a higher being than us because they can do more things, and then we see them getting left behind by their crew because they came down here and taught us stuff. We're kind of like, oh, maybe they're the bad guys because they got left by their people and got kicked out, and they're supposed to be they're higher than us, so they got.
We were taught that.
Yeah,
we were taught that.
So
and see, you're right. They were higher than us as far as technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't mean because they're fighting each other. You look at the Greek gods who are based on, I believe, these extraterrestrials. They commit adultery. They fight. They cheat on each other. They drink. They get drunk. I mean, people say, how can they be like that? And you can say, well, that's what the Native Americans said about the Spaniards and the Portuguese when they came. You guys are supposed to be godlike, and you're bringing us this religion, and you got this technology.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
We've been here before.
And and that's the story.
Yeah.
That is the story of colonization. And so when you bring it up to 2023, because I know we're kind of running out of time, if you bring it up to 2023, basically it's the same issues. That there's some beings who are want to see what we can do, and there's some beings who don't want disclosure at all. There's some human beings who want to say, listen, we're not alone. Let's grow up and join this galactic community. And there's some people in our government or anybody's government who's saying, no, we don't want that. So it's the same thing happening now.
Same old story.
Yeah.
Humans caught in the middle of it, as always.
And consciousness, how can we help you raise your consciousness
That's
and
what
what
I was
have you?
get at, right?
And people who control. And it's the same thing now. It's the same thing.
Yes, and that's what it's going to get at. It's because, and we will definitely continue this, but that's where it goes into, literally.
And that's where Jesus comes in to help us change our consciousness.
Yeah.
He's not the only one, but he's
that's
talking about changing the way you look at life. And he doesn't say, I can fix it. He lived in empire. And he wasn't even a Roman citizen. So a centurion could come by and say, oh, get out of the way, you filthy Jew. And Jesus falls in the ditch. Well, Paul was educated. Paul was a Roman citizen. If you push Paul in the ditch, he wants to see your badge. I'm gonna go to the emperor. We're gonna talk about this. So that's the kind of world we're talking about. Plus this populated universe. But Jesus didn't say. He said the poor you have with you always. He didn't say don't try to help them, but he couldn't fix that. But he was saying I can show you how to render to Caesar, and to render to God the things that are God's.
Right.
And so, but in a populated universe.
I think that
You read Ephesians 6.
you
That's telling you it's a populated
yeah.
universe. You put on your armor against principalities,
Right.
against what they call evil. And they're telling you this is not just about armies and stuff. That's part of it. But we live in a populated universe. And you need to put on your breastplate because you got to do battle with it every day.
Yeah.
Well, we live in those times too.
That's right.
We live in those times too.
And, the whole raising consciousness thing, I think that is a huge part of this. I think that is why a lot of people who have these contact type experiences, I mean, they shift to that. And I've seen it multiple times. I'm seeing
Well,
it
you can
now.
try to shift to it though, Ron, but I got to tell you, a lot of more conservative brothers and sisters, my half sister's one of them. She's a psychic. You can't even say the word. You got to say she's a prophetess. But no matter what, it's demonic. And you know what they'll tell you? Well, like Shakespeare said in Hamlet, the devil, they don't say it this way, but Shakespeare, the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. How do you know? Michael, you do Reiki. Michael, these beings, you got this heat coming out of your hands. So how do I know that's not from the devil? This is from my half sister. I say, Nikki, at least look at the work. Look at the works, and look at my life. And but she can't. She can't do it. She can't. She'll just say, well, we don't have to talk about that. So it doesn't matter because it's always that.
Roswell.
It's always that. It's always that. But you didn't mention Jesus when you said that. You didn't do it. So you can come up with all you want to do, but they'll say you could raise the dead by putting your hands on them, and she'll say to you, but the devil can do that too. How do I know? You know what I'm saying? She has a problem for every solution, brother. And I love her to death.
Plausible
But
deniability.
the consciousness thing she doesn't want to get into because she's going to say that demons can masquerade as good.
Well, the way I got into a different mindset, because I was in churches that were very much of the same as your half sisters.
Yeah.
And I started to study the ancient mysticism, the mystic arts that the Hebrews used, that Jesus himself used, and began to study those things. And that's what is like, oh yeah, this isn't these are techniques. These are things that we can do. We can teach people how to do them. And I started teaching a lot of people how to do it.
But they have to look.
Yeah. They did.
It's
it's not handed to you. You're not being taught these things by most people on a Sunday morning.
I wasn't taught by people, but
yeah. So, brothers, will we continue this?
Yes, guys. Thank you, Reverend Carter. Thanks for joining us again, Michael. It really is always a pleasure having you with us.
It's fascinating, brother.
Cannot wait to have you back later this week with us.
Yeah.
Again.
Part 2, you're going to be here for the holiday special, and we are going to be talking about Jesus. Yes.
I can't wait for part 2 where we continue this conversation, because we're trying to get this information out to you guys in a way that is just trying to clear some things up, that, these things aren't all wearing horns running around. It's not like the Krampus is going to jump out and get you.
Yes.
We're trying to show you guys that there's information out there you can find, and we're going to give you more of those sources. We're going to continue this conversation in a couple days. You guys are going to be here waiting, because I'm telling you, I can't wait myself. It's always a blast having you on, and we love having you here. So, guys, if you want to continue to support Wild and Weird Radio, tell a friend, share it with some other folks, send out some likes, send out some shares on your Facebook page or other social media. We appreciate all that. And make sure to subscribe over on the YouTube channel and slap that notification bell as hard as possible. That way, every time new content is dropped, it comes straight to your phone. You're given an alert that, hey, Wild and Weird's got some new stuff going on. You never know. It might be some field investigation stuff. It could be another episode. It could be a random news alert that we're popping up to share with you. But nonetheless, tune in. Come hang out with us. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for the continued support. And remember, things get really strange out there. Words are just that. Find out and do the etymology yourself. Because I promise you, it's going to get wild and weird.
It's definitely going to get wild and weird over the next
Nice.
few months. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to get wild and weird in a couple weeks.
You know that. All right, stay wild and weird, everybody.